Hello and welcome to this episode of Making Connections, the BattleCON analysis show where I, your host, Marco Dos Santos, try not to do so badly at playing BattleCON online. In the previous episode, we played some of the newly changed characters in BattleCON online, and of course, in this episode, we're gonna take some of your suggestions and play another character that has been changed. So, let's get into the game. Alright, so welcome to the show. I'm playing Magdelina against I'm Gay BFH's Luke. I have no idea what BFH stands for. Big Friendly Giant. Big Friendly Human. Regardless, this should be a matchup where I am decently favored in, should everything go right. So we kind of want to get rid of Sanctimonious Grasp. So the thing about Magdelina early game is that things are very, very weird. Because we're not trying to contest anyone or anything. So we just want to kind of get rid of these big styles that we're not going to really use. Spiritual Strike is a decent discard. See, the thing about Magdelina is you basically don't want to be aggressive. And Strike basically just serves as extra stun guard at this point. So if you're going to do that, might as well just do Blessing. Spiritual Strike, completely fine. And definitely take Solar Soul. Luke hates Soak, so soak away. Though I'm not sure if this is actually pronounced as I'm gay. Maybe that's Imgai. I don't know. Regardless, so what changed with Magdelina in this patch? Simple. Magdelina, basically when she levels up, she used to lose all of her trance counters, which meant that doing Blessing at the start of the game or early on, or even during middle game or late game, sometimes didn't matter because, for example, if you were already at 2 trance counters, regardless of whether or not you hit Blessing, you were going to level 3 anyway. So hitting Blessing didn't really matter because you were just gonna level up on that turn anyway. Now you only lose equal to the level, or equal to the level that you would become. Discard that much trance, exactly. So this way, for example, I have 4 trance counters for some reason and I go to level 1. Instead of losing all of that, I only lose 1, which means that I instantly level up the next beat. So this means that you can now hit Blessing whenever you want, and it's actually good. So now Safety Blessing goes from one of the worst beat 1 attack pairs to one of the best. And that's why I'm gonna do it. It's as simple as that. This is actually a really good move against Luke, because the only thing that I can reasonably think of that beats this is something like Fainting Burst or Flash. And if my opponent does Flash against this, that's completely fine. Luke usually only deals 1 damage with Flash, and especially without Fusion in their hand. Fusion is, yeah, Eternal Drive. A very interesting attack pair. It's really weird that I get to go first.
Lend me power, Saint of Justice.
So this is actually a really good beat on my opponent's part because they go second, and by going second, they're able to essentially bypass the heal on my Blessing.
Unfortunately for you,
No. So my opponent went to the center. I will most definitely retreat 2 spaces.
The light beckons.
We just want to create as much distance as possible.
Lend me power, Saint of Justice.
So usually, that wouldn't matter, right? At this point, I would have 0 trance. But now I have 1 trance, which means I level up this beat, and then the next beat I'll have 1 more trance. It means a lot. It definitely means a lot.
well played.
This is definitely going to be a dodge beat. So I'm going to do Spiritual. Oh, my mistake. My mistake. I forget that Spiritual has this clause that if you don't hit, you don't gain a trance. But think about it this way. This is simply me exploiting, what do you call this? The new fact that I have 1 trance now. So had I made this mistake in a previous patch, I would not have been able to do this. I would not be able to level up this beat, which would be highly unfortunate for me. So I guess this is just a teaching moment for me to teach all of you how good it is that Magdelina can now do this thing.
Not so fast.
I hope. So now that fusion's gone, I don't really feel that much threat. I'm almost guaranteed sure there's going to be something like a memento shot. My opponent's probably going to be severely scared of the burst. So basically, an
excellent choice.
Wait, that's interesting. I can't get any trance or levels. Oh my gosh. See, this is what a new patch does to you. It's like you forget certain things, and you don't know how they function. I'm pretty sure this is a memento shot. Or some form of shot. If it's a chrono shot, I'm actually fine with that. I'm actually fine with any shot. So basically, my opponent will clash with my priestess drive, and that should be fine. I'm gonna pass. I'm assuming my opponent's not gonna anti anything, because that's just how Luke operates early on. Like, he's just gonna assume to be faster most of the time. And that's fine. Hopefully my opponent doesn't anti anything. Yep. Wow. Chrono Strike. Ooh. Ooh. I'm losing this game pretty hard. So that's a 4-0 trade? Ugh. Yikes.
Not good enough.
Definitely not good enough.
Come forth, my guardian.
Your judgment will be swift.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm really scared of, basically memento shot. But I could take a half measure. No, I can't take a half. No, I can take a half measure. I can do safety blessing. That would clash memento shot, and then I can turn it into a burst.
As you say.
Or I could do safety strike. That would still clash the memento shot. I would prefer blessing. So once this blessing gets clashed, I will revert to burst, and hopefully that's good enough for me. Though my opponent might just play drive, and that's fine. Extra power. I'm not gonna anti anything. I'm Magdelina, so it's my opponent's job to kill me. Ah, there's the eternal shot.
Come forth, my guardian.
So now at least I get to heal. I also gain that extra trance.
Light cleanse you.
No better than I expected.
You know, I'm not... It's not that bad, actually.
Onward. Lend me power, saint of justice.
Let them fall before my blade.
So let's not commit the same mistake again. Why'd I lose everything? I only went to level 2. Did I miscount that? I shouldn't have lost everything there. We're definitely gonna do Sanctimonious dodge, because Sanctimonious is like her worst style at this point.
Is this your will?
That was really odd. I shouldn't have lost everything there.
Tally-ho!
Become active player. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Why did my opponent do that? Quick thing. Like, Luke probably should never do that. Like, unless I'm already, like, level 4 or something. Like, he's gonna be faster almost all the time. So now my opponent is active player. Which is interesting. Oh, that's a very interesting thing. So, this is a very interesting interaction, right? Usually, the faster player or the active player gets to do their starter beat effects first. But since I'm still active player, because this thing only activates at start of beat.
On
So
my
that only matters when he gets to their start of beats already. Which means that I get to dodge, essentially. My opponent played this fusion burst as a counter to my dodge, which again wouldn't work anyway.
Not so fast. Not good enough.
Give me courage, ancestor.
Yeah, this fusion burst wouldn't have worked anyway, even if they went first, because even if they just retreated 1, I could have gotten their minimum range. And if they retreated 2, I could have simply just not entered here and just gone here instead, and we would be at range 4, and that would actually be ideal for me. So this is actually shaping up to be a good set of beats.
Blade.
I'm gonna do Priestess Shot here, because it's relatively safe, and the only thing that really beats it is like Chrono Flash, and even then, Chrono Flash isn't even that good. Or I could just Priestess. I could also Excelsius Burst. I think Excelsius Burst is the safer play, and therefore I shall do it. This should be a relatively safe attack. Yep, Chrono Strike. Why did my opponent Chrono Strike? Did they think that they had 2 or more counters on them? I might be fighting against a newer player, and that's absolutely fine. I've given them many opportunities to destroy me, because I'm a bad Magdelina player. In case this wasn't very clear, you know, I don't really play Mags a lot. So okay, it's entirely possible for me to not move or retreat. And that would be okay. Actually, would it be better for me to just not... Nope, because my opponent gets shot. Wait, no. Because my opponent gets fainting. No, actually, it's actually better for me to just retreat 1 space. Even if I... Nope. Because I can just hit. Okay. That was a lot of hullabaloo, but in... there you go. In reality, I could have chosen to push 1 space. I had to retreat 1 space.
By the goddess's name, I stand fast.
But I think hitting my opponent for 3 and
Lend
getting
me
into this
power,
range
saint
is
of justice.
decent. So now without Chrono, my opponent's in a bit of trouble. So I can do Priestess Shot from this range. My opponent cannot Memento Shot because they need 3 time to do this. That was a big nerf to Luke. So actually, I'm not scared of anything. And therefore, I can Priestess Shot with impunity. Impunity? Impunity? Impurity. I don't know. This is a very good setup. So originally, I was thinking of just retreating and keeping Luke at this range to be at range 5. Luke has no options at range 5.
An excellent choice.
Without Chrono in hand. So that's very, very good. But I could have just... I stayed at range 4 instead so that I could Priestess Shot this turn. Also, it's important to note that I could have... Like, even if I was at range 4, if I didn't move, remember that this limits your range to 3, so I can't do it. Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. So this is one of the only things that Luke could have done to actually hit this beat. Yes, like I knew that Luke could do this move. It's just that I knew that my Priestess thing would have beaten it. So we're perfectly fine.
Forth, my guardian.
So we gain 3. We should lose 3 at this point. Understandable if I lose 3. There you go. Yeah, so I think that was a bug earlier where I lost everything when I should have only lost 2. Unless I was miscounting and I actually only had 2. Okay, so the cool thing about Magdelina is she has a spiritual style. So the thing about Magdelina is you get stat bonuses and everything, right? Which is really good, which means that most of her stats actually have negatives. Spiritual has positive stats, which means right now this is a 4 power, 4 priority style. But the cool thing is that Switch also has neutral stats, which means this is a 3 power, 3 priority style. Which makes it really freaking good. But I have no range right now. I could Sanctimonious Drive, but actually I could just... I'll just switch dodge. Magdalena's biggest weakness is arguably the fact that she lacks in range. So I kind of want to just get in first. Because the moment that you have high enough stats, Luke can't really do much. I'm also reading an Eternal here because my opponent's basically been cycling Eternal 24/7. Nope, never mind. Switch dodge. Alright. I'm definitely gonna go here.
The light beckons.
And I'm definitely keeping Solar Soul, because I definitely do not need the level from Apotheosis. No, we're keeping this finisher. And it seems my opponent's keeping Temporal Recursion, which can be a bit problematic for me.
Show me the path, guardian of heroes.
So now I can do this and have zero problem. My opponent just has to deal with a 7 damage attack. I mean, they can easily deal with it using Eternal Strike or whatever.
As it is written.
But that's fine. Luke actually has almost zero counterplay against this. The only thing I'm thinking of is like Fusion Flash anti-priority on their part.
Lady of Light, grant me strength.
But again, if Luke decides to flash me, I'm good. Because, like, taking 1 damage for a free beat as Magdelina is fine. Also, I should probably anti-priority. This because Luke's probably trying to contest for well, he's not probably contesting for priority. This is probably an Eternal beat. Yep, knew it. But I just wanted to like force their hand, so to speak. So Luke has. Oh wait, does Luke have enough soak? That's 3. That's 4. That's only 7. Oh goodness, I think Luke made a mistake. Luke should have antied stun guard, because no matter how much soak Luke puts on this Eternal, it's not gonna be enough to stun guard through me. So, yeah, that's not gonna be enough. That's only gonna be 7. That's still a stun. That was such a good beat. Oh my gosh. In my opinion, my opponent should not have spent all of the counters on that. Yeah, definitely should not have spent the counters on that. So now the game has shifted, right? So earlier on, I was being the defensive fighter, you know, trying to get away from Luke and manage Luke's options. Now that that's not the case, because I am now the offensive fighter, Luke has 0 tokens left. And I am expecting something like this. Or this, right? So that's 7 priority. So long as I beat 7, I should be fine. But I can't beat 7. Oh, that's quite unfortunate. I can't beat 7 priority. Oh, poor me. Can't beat 7 priority. It's okay then. I'll just take the hit and do Priestess Shot anyway. That way I get healed. Yeah. Absolutely the correct play. Should I anti-power? If I anti-power now, they'll go down to 6, which is a killable range. So it's very important to like think about stuff like that. Like whether or not anti-ing power will bring your opponent to a more killable range. That definitely does it for me because it makes my switch drive deal 7, I believe. Which is pretty good.
You won't get through my defenses so easily.
Now my opponent is scared because the last beat they tried not anti-ing stun guard in response, but now they have that problem. Okay, so we clash. So I know they're doing Chrono. They still have a few options in their hands. Oh my gosh, the burst is so good here. 2 priority. I can't beat the burst. That means I have to burst. That's pretty dumb, but like that's the counterplay. My opponent could also easily drive.
Patience is a virtue.
But we'll have to see. Yep, knew it. Okay, so now my opponent has to do
Let us move.
a weird thing. Well, no matter where they. No, they have to retreat 2, is essentially what I mean. They have to do a weird thing where they retreat 2 spaces. Weird. That's also weird, because now, no matter what my opponent does, they get hit and lose this beat immensely. Because I hit for 5, heal 1.
I won't underestimate you next time.
That's quite interesting of my opponent to do.
Show me the path, guardian of
I don't quite
heroes.
understand that line of play. Also, shouldn't I have leveled up there? I'm so not used to Magdelina.
An excellent choice.
More trance. More trance. Oh, so I need 4. Okay. Every 2 rounded up. So this is plus... So this turns into a shot, essentially. But that's not good enough. Temporal recursion is very, very weak. So I have to do Sanctimonious Shot. But this doesn't kill. No, wait, it does.
As it is written.
This should kill if I anti-power. See that power I antied
Blades of
earlier?
light,
Mattered.
grant me strength.
If my opponent had 1 more life right now, not a kill. This means that Luke can deal 4. I have stun guard 5, so that's fine. My opponent's probably dodging. Fainting dodge?
History repeats
Nope.
itself once again.
It's just temporal recursion. I'm absolutely not scared of that. And my opponent loses, I think. Great game, great game.
Temporal recursion.
Temporal recursion doesn't deal that much, and I get to deal 6 damage back.
Strike a saint merits divine judgment.
Calculated.
Justice has triumphed.
Justice has indeed triumphed. So, let's move on to the post-game analysis in a bit. So, that was a very interesting game in my opinion. Okay, let's just do a few disclaimers. Number 1, that was probably not a very veteran Luke player, which is completely fine. Number 2, that was already a lopsided matchup, so to speak, in that Magdelina tends to be favored in that matchup against Luke. Mostly because Luke's game plan is often to delay the game until he has a lot of time, and then pressure the opponent with his time. Magdelina's game plan is to delay the game, and then level up. And overall, the levels tend to be way more powerful than the time tokens. So that's why Magdelina is kind of favored in that matchup. And if you want to learn more about analyzing matchups, I highly recommend you read the Steam guide by Elephant. I'll link it in the description down below on analyzing matchups. It might help you better understand why Magdelina is favored, for example. And number 3, I'm a bad Magdelina player, so that's not any indication of how strong Magdelina is or how strong Luke is or how anything. It's just a showcase of what I'm able to do with Magdelina given my limited understanding of the character. It's very interesting. The Trance change essentially meant that Trance didn't feel like a bad attack to play because prior to this patch, you would only play Trance on beat 3. And that's it. It never mattered anywhere else. I was able to play Trance on beat 1, where it's usually the best, because Safety Trance is super, super good. And Safety Trance overall is really good. So overall, I'm very happy with this change. It means that Trance is a little bit more flexible for Magdelina. And ultimately, it just means that Magdelina has more options. And really, a character like Magdelina has very limited options available to her. Not in the sense that she doesn't have as many styles or bases as other characters, but that Magdelina's styles tend to be samey, and that they're all just things with huge stats. And that's not a bad thing. I love huge stats, but sometimes variety and utility is way more important than just having +4 power on a card. So having that extra card in Trance, which was previously not that attractive, suddenly become attractive regardless of the beat, means that Magdelina just has more options, and more options is always better for winning the game. So that pretty much does it for this episode of Making Connections. I hope all of you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe. And of course, if you want me to play any character, please tell me in the comments section down below. I tend to prioritize characters that have recently gotten changes or have not been played on this show for a long time. So for example, say you propose Magdelina for the next episode, it's not gonna be very likely because we just played her. Regardless, it has been me, your host, Marco Dos Santos, also known as Mechanic Critic. Don't forget your special actions, and thank you, World of Indians. Thank you, and good night.